Welcome to Kerbside Conversations, the podcast that parks right at the edge of paramedicine. We're chatting with real voices from inside the profession, straight from events, summits, and conferences. I'm your host, Laura Horello, and whether you're tuning in between shifts or you're on your way to your next CPD, this is your quick hit of hot takes, raw insights, and a few laughs, all from the heart of the action. So I invite you to pull up, grab a coffee, and tune in to the topics shaping our profession. You're in good company. Okay, so the first thing that I'll get you to do is to just introduce yourself and tell me your name, where you're from, and what your current primary role is.
Okay, all right. So my name is Reeves.
Yep.
I'm currently the Principal Advisor for Pre-Hospital Care for Northern Territory Department of Health. I'm based in Darwin, where I've lived for the last 4 or 5 years and been in the Territory for about 10, but originally came from the UK a few decades ago, and have worked broadly within the UK and internationally over the last 20 years.
And I am getting the distinct impression that you're one of those people who's had a long and winding career path that's taken you through many roles and many countries. So the UK, Australia, did you start as frontline paramedic, or sort of where did you start and how did you sort of end up where you are now?
Right. I started within ambulance services in the UK, south of England. And I guess there, when I look back, there was no career path to actually sort of map how I got to here.
Yeah.
But I think my career plan, as it turns out, was just saying yes to everything. And
yes,
it didn't always work out
Yeah.
well, but most of the time it did.
Yeah.
And I think that's sort of my default approach. Most of the things I, wasn't fully informed or aware what I was saying yes to. So a constant familiarity of getting involved in things, being aware that that can be uncomfortable and out of your depth, and then working to strive through that takes you to quite amazing places, but also discovery and insight into life and also paramedicine. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very much an extension of paramedicine, right? Like you get used to being maybe uncomfortable on a scene, but you have to sort of find your way through it. You could do the same thing in a macro sense with your career of here's a situation where I'm out of my element because I'm taking on a new skill, but I can sort of find my way through. And there's stuff on the other side of this.
Yeah. I think you find that you end up to survive or thrive in environments like that of changing your thinking that you may have, developed in a at-home setting, which was appropriate then. And that was certainly some of my experiences in my early international deployment, which was quite confronting. So I had to adapt my thinking to how to deal with that. But once working out how to do that and doing it, just then completely transformed what came next.
Yeah.
And that stays with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so just remind me one more time of your current title.
So I'm the Principal Advisor for Pre-Hospital Care.
Okay.
Which is a paramedic seated at the strategic level as Department of Health.
Okay.
Prior to the Office of the Chief Paramedic, for which Shell PSC is the Chief Paramedic Officer. We report to the Deputy Chief Executive as our next line of report and sit parallel to the other professional leads. So the Chief Medical Officer, Chief Nursing Midwifery, Allied Health, Psychiatry, Pharmacy, Aboriginal health practitioners, and so on. So, yeah.
And so I felt like, particularly when I was a new paramedic, I was very far removed from the whole idea of healthcare policy and sort of what it was and why it was important and how it impacted my job, even though I later discovered that actually it has a huge impact. And so if you were sort of selling the importance of healthcare policy and getting involved in healthcare policy to frontline, how would you go about doing that? Or what would you say?
It's, I'm not sure if I've got a full grasp on it, to be honest. So I've been in the role for or at that level for the first time for the last 2 years. And it is really interesting to see and learn, understand how things get done, and also why things don't.
Yes.
Everything has a monetary value when you're looking at providing services. especially in that service industry with the costs with that. So where you do have finite resources, deciding on where the resources, the funding, how that's allocated, a lot of it is to do with having a good argument, but that argument's backed up by data and research. So proving that there's a benefit or a need. And then it's into the realms of, prioritizing that, triaging that of sorts against the other competing needs when you're looking at the whole of health system. Some of those implementations can have quite rapid benefits if it's introducing a service or something else. And then other things are part of a larger sort of slower benefit or return, particularly when you're looking at preventative health, public health and things like that. But I think probably the biggest impact is tapping into all of the service users with this, or the service delivery end. I think that's important. And although, in the Northern Territory, it's few in population, with some quite unique challenges, particularly with geography,
remote and rural areas,
exactly, things like that. That the isolation is something that is, really important to consider, but the value of tapping into the people that provide the services or receive the services is key. And again, in even more developed systems, those gaps are what can make it feel that there's a disconnect, or actually prove that there is a disconnect. So I think engagement and experience and bridging the two ends of the spectrum are really important. And I think personally, even from a operational management perspective or an organizational perspective, it needs to be focused on the patient, the individual, the community, the collective as well. And the care providers that deliver the healthcare, support the community in those settings, need to be forward facing to the priority. And the organization or the management, whether it's, duty management, organizational strategy, needs to really be able to support them. And the whole focus, the service is towards that original need. And I think that's important to understand how that works, but also how we need to communicate and how decisions are made. So with policy to support and endorse, with putting in proposals, with understanding the broad impact of things, so data and research, and being able to put forward good arguments to try something. And I think that's the other thing. It's an important thing to try. It's hard to guarantee things we haven't done before, but it's really important to have the courage to be bold and try. But
it's hard for organizations to take risks, though. And
that's right.
There's a lot at stake, and there's a lot of people watching, and a lot of time and money involved. But I think that paramedics often feel like their service is the thing that sort of constrains them to a specific scope. But what they may not realize is that their service is responding to this sort of broader policy and sort of functioning within that. And so sort of what the policy looks like shapes what the service looks like, shapes what the experience is.
I think, there's been a theme that's come up in the conference so far, but it's something I personally hold to through the various areas in which I work, and particularly within Australia in the last 10 years, how the profession has developed. And this is my personal view, but the future of paramedicine is not ambulance services. However, the future of ambulance services, I believe, is paramedicine. And I say that with love. That's not a knock at ambulance services, but one of the hardest things, I think, to spread into different areas where there will be an absolute benefit to having a paramedic clinician involved. Within multidisciplinary approaches, is to be able to be seen as that clinician, not attached to another identity, which holds a lot of misconception in public, but also other professional settings. I think, there's few people that are not within paramedicine that really understand it. And with it being a fairly new profession compared to the others, even those professions, if they don't work closely with, it's hard to fully understand how that fits.
Yeah.
And awareness of that. So I think we're really fortunate in the Northern Territory, and I see there's an absolute value and need to have paramedicine represented, to have chief paramedics at strategic levels in all jurisdictions, to be able to influence the health systems, advocate for the power and the value of paramedicine, knowing it's not a be-all, end-all solution. There's no one entity that's going to solve the challenges we have.
Yeah, it's not going to get fixed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the whole thing within the structure of medicine, if money wasn't a problem and resources weren't a problem, then it wouldn't necessarily be the answer to all of our issues if we just had doctors everywhere, type of thing. So it's very much the specialties that we have, but the importance of working together.
Yeah.
Having that strategic influence for our profession is key. And at this stage where we are breaking away from the association with what a paramedic is in an ambulance service, because that's all anyone's generally known, is going to be really important to be able to diversify into better healthcare systems and better models of care that will benefit everybody, including ambulance services or what they become.
I loved that phrasing of the future of paramedicine isn't ambulance services, but the future of
ambulance services is paramedicine.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's it. And I think, it comes up again, and, the funny little things of your ambulance are associating with a vehicle type of thing. But I mean, that's a small thing, but some things form these connections in brains, whether it's with the public or, in other areas. So there's a lot of education and advocacy that's needed, and that needs to be in a space on its own. But it also needs to be at a level where the strategy and the future of health services is discussed.
Yeah.
Because if it's too far down, the decisions are being made, and then it's like, well, I wish we were here at the beginning.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a really important thing. But yes, to do with that. And what if ambulance services weren't called ambulance services? What if they were called paramedic services?
Yeah, exactly.
Paramedic
delivery service.
The whole drive at the moment is to not transport the patients that don't or could be managed elsewhere.
Yeah.
So, transport is a real key. It's a specialty area, whoever's doing it and whatever the model is. But again, when you're looking at a profession, they need to have that recognition across the board in an independent way, but still be integrated and recognizing you are just a piece in a bigger system.
Exactly. And it all has to work together, and there's room for all of us.
Absolutely.
So I have one final question.
Okay.
I imagine it might be a while since you've worked a night shift, but when you were working night shifts, what was your guilty pleasure to make you feel just a little more human in the middle of the night?
Oh, okay. I must confess, fortunately, I'm still clinical.
Yeah. Oh, lovely.
So I do the occasional response unit shift.
Yeah.
And oddly, they tend to be nights because the ones that come
so
up.
Weird that the other people don't want to work at nights, and so you're sort of casually filling in there. I don't know why. Yeah.
Health and fitness has been really key with regards to that, and it's difficult to maintain that in shift work and so on, and get into routines. But I do enter into a little bit of fast food. And sort of, it's like a road trip type thing.
Yeah.
But I guess, some things like that.
Health and fitness is a balance. If we're looking at a holistic person, then sometimes you need that 2 a.m. fast food to, feed your soul.
Yeah. So, no, I guess it's that, I suppose.
Yeah. No, it's a great answer. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today, and I hope you have a great time at the conference.
Great. Thank you.